Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are on my in-laws balcony, the sunny balcony as I call it, because mine is the shady, there is the sunny balcony. I recorded already several videos on this balcony. They are all grouped into a playlist called the sunny balcony if you would like to check that out. The two last videos that we recorded in here were obviously planting the summer planters, the annual planters. They turned out really pretty. And then I came back once again in June, and in June we planted some drought-tolerant plants in their planters on the floor. We planted some wax begonias, some gora, some dipladenia, and when I left it in June, it all looked really pretty. All the plants were doing fine. But I haven't been here ever since, and in the meantime my parents-in-law, they went on holidays, and it's my sister-in-law that was in charge of watering all the plants. But my sister-in-law, she's not a gardener, she has never grown any plants on her own. So unfortunately, when my parents-in-law came back home, I came here at the same moment, and we discovered that all the plants were dead. So my parents-in-law have now cleaned up those planters. They took the planters down because obviously it's already August. First of all, there is nothing at the garden centers right now. They don't sell any more summer plants. And secondly, I think it's simply not worth to plant anything right now because it's August, so I think it's better to wait a little and to plant fall planters early, for example at the beginning of September. So that's not even why we are here. There is yet another issue going on. Let me show you. So I think by now, if you watch my videos, you probably know more or less how this balcony looks. We have the two photinias here in the corner. As we turn around, there used to be the seasonal planters. They are now on the floor waiting to be planted in autumn. And in this corner we have mostly perennial plants. That's where we planted the drought tolerant plants last time. The begonias are doing just so well. You guys, I am planting begonias everywhere next year. Like, look at them. Whether you plant them in the shade, in the sun, whether you water them often or rarely, they are just happy to bloom, no problems with them. So we are here to work on this part again, because let me explain you what happened. So funny thing, my parents-in-law a while ago, they asked me, do you think we can plant an oleander on our balcony? And I said, well, it's gonna be a little bit of a tight squeeze because with the layout of the pots in here, as you can see, oleander is a large bush. It needs a lot of space all around it. So I said, the planters are a bit close to the wall, but I said, you could, like, it's gonna be a tight squeeze, but you could plant one oleander in the middle. So guess what my parents-in-law did? Came back from the holidays and they brought home not one, but two oleanders. And they said, well, we want you to remove the gora and the dipladenia because they are not blooming. And we want something that's blooming. And the thing is, I know that this isn't gonna work because oleanders, they become very large shrubs. If we planted one in the center, maybe there will be enough space for it to grow and develop healthy. Two oleanders in the center, this is gonna be just too overcrowded. It will work for 1 year, maybe 2 years if we're lucky, but then they are just gonna get too huge and there will not be enough space for all of these plants in this place. So we are gonna plant them today because they really want it, but that means we also have to make some adjustment in this space so that it works at least temporarily. Let me show you what I'm gonna do. Okay, so the plan for today is to remove these two plants and to plant those oleanders in here. There is already not enough space for that second oleander in here. As you can see, the rose reaches all the way until here. And this is a rose bukavu. It can be grown as a shrub, it can be grown as a small climber, but the past few years I trained it as a shrub because there was nothing really in here, so we could have this little bush with beautiful red flowers in here. But now that they want these oleanders that are gonna grow upwards and, you know, that they're gonna fill out this entire space, we have to train this rose more as a climber to go up and to join another climber in here. And I will remove this Trachelospermum jasminoides. They've had it for 2 years, it never bloomed, they just can't make it bloom. So I bought a new climber that I'm really excited about. I'm gonna show you in a minute. We are gonna plant a new climber in here And then from next spring, I'm gonna be training this rose as a climber, and those two climbers will join each other in the center. I think it will look really beautiful. And then this planter is empty. I don't even remember what we had here before and what died in here, but I went to the garden center and picked the last seasonal flowers, so we are gonna be planting them in here. Okay, so first I'm gonna really quickly remove all these plants that they don't want anymore to prepare the space for those new plants that I bought and brought with me today. Oh my goodness, it doesn't want to come out. Oh goodness. Okay, you guys, the planters are ready. Let's start planting. We will start with the oleanders. For planting oleanders, I'm gonna be using a loam-based, or also called soil-based potting mix. I use 3 different types of potting mixes. In general, I use multi-purpose for seasonal plants, for annual flowers. Then I use ericaceous for all the acid-loving plants, and then loam-based or soil-based potting mix for trees, for shrub, and for perennial plants. Because this potting mix contains actual garden soil, it holds on to nutrients, it holds on to much more moisture. It's also heavier, so it provides more stability, more anchorage for the roots of trees and shrubs. So that's what we are gonna use. Let's plant these two, and then I will show you what I brought with me today. Okay, you guys, so look what I brought with me today. We have a beautiful clematis, Arabella. It's a small climbing clematis that's gonna replace the jasmine that never bloomed. And I think that these purple flowers of clematis that are gonna climb here will look really pretty with those dark red flowers of rose, and they are gonna join each other in the center. I think it will look really pretty. So a few words about clematis. So if you would like to buy a clematis for your balcony garden, there are a few things that you need to pay attention to. First is the group of your clematis. So we divide clematis in 3 groups. Group number 1, 2, and 3. And in group 1 clematis, these are the clematis that bloom early in the spring. So like for example, my clematis Montana Maylene, and they bloom on old wood. So we don't prune them because they produce flowers on the branches that they produced last year. So this season they produce branches, and on those branches, on those stems, they are gonna bloom in the spring. So we do not prune that type of clematis. Eventually, immediately after it's done blooming, so late spring, early summer. Then we have group 2 clematis, that these are summer flowering clematis, and group 3 clematis, which is this one, they are late summer, early autumn blooming clematis, and these you can prune quite hard in the spring because they bloom on new branches, so on the branches that they produce in the current season. So you have to prune them, because if you don't, then they are just keep gonna growing those new branches, and they are only gonna bloom on those new branches, and you will end up with, you know, a bare base of your clematis. So these need hard pruning in the spring. One other interesting thing that you should pay attention to when you buy your clematis: choose clematis that has a lot of stems coming from the base. The more stems it has coming from the base, the bushier, the more fuller it will look, and obviously the more blooms it will produce. So this is clematis Arabella. It is a small clematis. It only grows 90 to 150 centimeters, so it's not a large climber, so that's perfect. It's really important to choose the right size plant for your space. As I said, these, for example, oleanders, they are way too huge for such a small space, but this clematis is a perfect size for that corner. So I don't use any additional drainage at the bottom of the container. I put the soil directly in, and I'm also using a soil-based potting mix because it holds on to more moisture, it holds on to more nutrients, it doesn't leach out nutrients as quickly as multi-purpose potting mix. So I suggest that if you want to plant a clematis, use a soil-based potting mix as well. When planting clematis, you would want to plant it slightly deeper than how it was planted in its nursery can. Another tip for those of you who want to grow a clematis, so it is said that clematis likes to have its roots in the shade, but then its stems in the sun. And a lot of people recommend to plant something in front of your clematis. And a lot of people repeat that in container gardening, but unfortunately that doesn't really work in container gardening. I mean, unless you have a really large pot, because clematis itself is, as I said, it requires moisture, it requires a lot of nutrients. So if you plant something, if for example I were to plant something with clematis in that pot, there will be not enough space for clematis roots to develop, and also the two plants will compete with each other for water and for nutrients. So it's definitely not a good idea to plant anything in front of your clematis in containers. And what I recommend instead is just using a mulch. You know, mulch will help to suppress weeds, it will help to keep the roots cool in summer and help to protect them from frost in winter. It also helps to retain moisture in the soil. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mulch this clematis, but also all these other plants that I planted today. I'm using shredded bark as a mulch, but you can use anything, it really doesn't matter all that much. You can use pine cones, you can use bark, you can use pebbles. So I went to the garden center to pick some flowers for this small planter in here, and there was literally nothing in the garden center, no summer flowers already, nothing. But then I noticed one last flat of plants, you guys, one last. And guess what? It happens to be the exact same begonias as we have in here, red and pinks with dark foliage. Like, this was waiting for me. I'm telling you guys, it was waiting for me because it was one last, there was nothing else left. So I'm gonna be planting them in here, and I think it will look fine because, you know, it will be symmetrical. We'll have these two begonia planters, two oleanders, so kinda makes sense now. So for begonias, I'm using multi-purpose potting mix because these are seasonal plants. Alright, now I just have to water and fertilize everything really well. Okay, you guys, I'm done here for today. I don't think I even mentioned, but my in-laws are on holidays again, and this time it's me who is taking care of the balcony. So today it's Monday, but I will surely come back one more time to water everything. So we will see in a couple of days how the plants are doing. Okay, so here we go. Here's one begonia that I had left. I planted it in this small container here. And this is how it looks. It doesn't look half that bad, I think. I mean, that's not what I would choose for this balcony. As I said, the oleanders are not really what I would plant in here, but I think it looks okay. I mean, they have some flowers, as you can see, and they also form new flower buds, so they will provide a pop of color. Clematis here. I think it also has a few more flowers since I saw it last, and we have new flower buds forming, so as well I think we can still enjoy it this year. Begonias on the floor obviously are doing amazing, and the new ones that I planted, I think they already have more flowers since I saw it last time. And a Region on the floor also finally started to produce flowers again. Okay, you guys, so this is gonna be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed spending some time with me on this sunny balcony. The next video from this balcony will most likely be planting fall compositions on the railing, so I'm definitely going to share that with you. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next Saturday. Bye!